Hello, everybody, and welcome to Atheist Sunday School, your one-stop shop for everything Atheist Sunday and school. And boy, do we have a show for you today. Today we are covering 2 Corinthians chapters 10 through 13 with Landon Noll.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on your time zone and latitude, from your astronomer guide to our favorite universe. And I hope you folks are doing well. I'm here at Treehouse. Got the fire going and prevented YouTube from squawking. This is not a green screen. This is a real fire back there. We have this carbon that's been locked up in trees being released back to there. I'm recycling the carbon in the trees.
See, the reason Landon knows all that stuff is because he's actually a pyromaniac, and he loves setting fires, and this was the perfect excuse for him.
I do enjoy extreme stoichiometry as well, but I do it safe and sane. I don't. I've never risked myself in such a endeavor, and that's a problem that people get into, is they let their zeal exceed their ability to stay safe, and they lose fingers or worse. So my advice, if you don't know what you're doing with stoichiometry, don't try.
That's some damn good advice from Landon.
We got this nice fire going, and hi April as well. Normally, I was just doing from the treehouse great room, where there's a nice piano over there, a nice harpsichord over there, and forte piano and all kinds of other things, and Canada over there. But Canada's kind of cloudy at the moment, and we've got this nice fire going. So I figured it was probably useful for this text that we're going to be reading. But what kind of text are we going to be reading from?
Well, I have the King James Version of the Bible.
I have the English Standard Version of the Bible. We also have Erdman's commentary on the Bible. You got some commentaries over there, I see.
Yes, I have the Jewish Annotated New Testament and the NIV Study Bible.
I have the Greek New Testament. I have a textual guide to the Greek New Testament.
We also have the Septuagint.
We do have the Septuagint.
And we have the Historical Jesus in Context
by Amy Jill Levine and others. We also have the Text of the New Testament by Bruce Metzger.
And the Oxford Companion to the Bible,
which we don't talk about.
Well, we don't read from it.
But you love to keep mentioning it.
Well, it's on the table.
Okay.
You could
remove
it from the table.
Just remove it from the table.
First time this year. Not that.
Wow, I hate you. Also, yes, Happy New Year.
Landon, what Bible do you have?
Well, I'm looking at the title page that says New American Standard Bible Reference Edition, A.J. Holman Company, division of J.P. Lipcott Company, Philadelphia, New York. Copyright, the Lockman Foundation, 1960, 1962, 1963, 1968, 1971, 1972, 1973. A corporation not-for-profit, La Habra, California, producers of amplified translations, all rights reserved, printed in the United States of America.
Did they really have to copyright it every year?
I mean,
apparently, because
don't copyrights last a while?
And it has a whole bunch of forward stuff there. But it's not it's a preference, and there's a whole bunch of textual stuff at the beginning of the thing that probably no one ever reads. Anyway, there you go. It is what it is.
Those numbers
and what are we going to be reading today?
Oh, sorry.
So yeah,
I was going to say that those are reflections of copyright law change.
Oh yeah,
because they extended how long you could have a copyright every so often.
Well, I guess they'd have to copyright it every year.
But every year?
I
have no idea. I'm not an expert on copyright law.
As I said, there's a preference to the American Standard Bible, 1963, and then there's a whole bunch of other, I guess, texts and so forth that they put forward. So apparently they were working on it for a number of years. It is. Their aim was these publications shall be true to the original Hebrew and Greek. They shall be grammatically correct. They shall be understandable to the masses. They shall give Lord Jesus Christ proper place in which the word gives him. No work will ever be personalized. So, but they don't put God as the author.
Unfortunate. Well, I mean, God's not the one who did the translation. They did the translation, right?
Yeah, and they copyrighted the translation.
Right, exactly.
So,
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so
you want me to hop into it?
well, I mean, so we have already discussed on the show how 2 Corinthians is made up of multiple letters. And this last section is no different. It's actually perfect that we're doing it this way because this is what is known, at least in Erdman's, as the tearful letter.
Aw.
Oh.
and this is the case, I guess, in authorship that Paul is sort of the undisputed author of this text.
Yeah.
Or is there? Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that everyone pretty much accepts that this is all written by Paul. People do disagree on the dating of either the letter as a whole or all the letters within it, and in relation to some of the other letters, which we did cover a little bit last time, I think. But yeah, this is the reason we were looking down here was there was a little spider,
Teeny tiny spider.
teeny tiny spider. Yeah. So we were just saying hello to it, I suppose.
Yeah.
So
Saying hello to us.
that too. Yeah.
Because that spider is doing a good job in catching other things you probably don't want under there. So hi, spider. But so why didn't they make this a 3 Corinthians and a 4 Corinthians and so forth? Why did they lump all these other things together? Or did they know what they were doing?
You know what? Honestly, I don't know. I'd have to go back and check like all the stuff on canon studies. I'm sure that's been covered at least a little bit. Maybe eventually they started circulating together as like the letters that were sent to the Corinthians. I guess that would be what I think. But then we also have a 1 Corinthians, right? So I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
No,
First
no,
Corinthians was just too long to be on the same piece of
Maybe.
parchment or whatever.
Yeah.
There are other books to follow where the authorship is in dispute. I presume.
Yeah, absolutely. We will get into things that we know are pseudepigrapha, or otherwise known as forgeries. I mean, it's what we would call it today, right? If someone wrote something in your name.
Yes, if I published something by Landon Noll,
Yeah, exactly. Like
I would say it's pseudepigrapha, not a forgery.
Right, you're right. That's what you would say. Okay.
But if this is God's word, how could it be a forgery? Or did someone fake some text to get it slipped into the canon?
That's essentially kind of that second part. Yeah.
I thought it was that one
so-
demon named Error. Isn't he responsible?
Oh
for
yeah,
that?
error. I
Yeah, he
remember
did that.
error. Yeah. I am error. Yeah. But yeah, that is kind of what happened with texts that are forged in the ancient world. I mean, if you want to add authority to something, you just stick the name of someone that's very popular.
Mhm.
Yeah, and if you want that work to become popular, especially, so yeah, that would of course happen. And it's not like there were the same repercussions, at least legally speaking. But there was, so I think there was this guy, Zeno, not the same Zeno, not the Zeno's Paradox guy, different Zeno. So he was an Epicurean, and someone forged some letters in the name of Epicurus that were, kind of made him look pretty bad.
Mhm.
So what Zeno did was found the guy that forged them and killed him.
All right.
That's an actual thing that happened.
Yeah.
So
One thing that happens in contemporary culture is that authors who are popular, recognized authors, will publish under pseudonyms.
yeah.
I wonder which ancient works were actually written by the same person but attributed to different people because they were written under pseudonyms.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
And
Like how many people wrote under different pseudonyms then?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's an
Yeah.
interesting one. I don't know.
and it's but also I guess in terms of the books to follow, you have been doing a Friday Apocryphal podcast, which has where you're reading interesting texts. Do you feel from the general, because you've been reading a bunch of that stuff, you've been reading this so-called canon, that maybe some of the books to follow should have been in Apocrypha, and some of the Apocrypha should have been in the text? Do you think if you were trying to build a religious block of canon stuff, would you have swapped some of the books around?
I don't know.
I don't think any of the Apocrypha or Pseudepigrapha is any more rational.
Sure, yeah.
But like the Gnostic stuff is a lot cooler.
It is cooler, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know if I were trying to build like the most, I might want to put in, what was that? Was that the one where they have hands? What was that from? That was from something about Shem, right?
Yeah, the Treatise of Shem.
The Treatise of Shem. Okay, yeah. So that was fun. I'd put that in there. I didn't see that as causing any issues.
I'd include the Enoch books.
That would make sense. Although then you're left with, it depends on what you're trying to do, right? Because if you're trying to create Christianity,
you're trying to build a coherent religious text, and you've got something way out there. That's a different sort of thing. So.
Oh, sure. Okay. So
I think that the Enoch books are like enough to fill the gap that's left in the early history.
I think what you'd have to do is take out the Jesus stuff and add in the Enoch books, and then you have like that kind of very, because you can see how they got everything from.
Yeah, we take out all of the Jesus stuff.
Yeah.
We add in the Enoch stuff.
Yeah.
We add in the Apocalypse of Elijah.
Right, yeah, that would be a fun one.
Jubilees maybe would be helpful.
No,
Jubilees
is just a retelling of Genesis.
It is, but it adds in a few details. But yeah, you wouldn't.
Those few details
pick
from
one.
Jubilees.
Jubilees or Genesis?
No, just those few details.
That's a good question.
Ooh, yeah.
I guess Jubilees or
is
Genesis.
better than Genesis.
Well,
in terms of
Jubilees.
detail.
Jubilees had there's a lot more tedious stuff in Jubilees.
But there's also more detail.
Yeah. So I don't know.
It's interesting to see if the young Earth creationists had to deal with Jubilees, what they would have done as well. That would have been.
Well, they would at least have a more coherent time frame.
Right. That at least. Yeah, they would. Because what was the thing that?
Because they literally record like the period of time that occurs between every event in Jubilees.
Essentially, yeah.
There's a real timeline in that book. When you read Genesis, it's like, all right, this
Yeah,
is
you never-
pretty vague. 900 years.
You rarely
past,
know,
I
yeah.
guess. Huh.
You know, like how long people lived,
That, right.
and it tells you like ages and times that they lived, kind of. But it tells you like when they had kids, right? So you can kind of work your way with that.
Gospel of Mary.
Yeah, it's not like we're Egyptian and saying in the second year of our President Biden. You know?
Right? Yeah.
What else would be really good to include? The Testament of Solomon.
Oh boy, yeah. That would be. It would definitely add a lot more weight to all the Solomon stuff.
Look, if I were making the canon, I would go all in with all of the wacky magic stuff.
Yeah.
And I would push that as the canon because I think it would make the most entertaining outcomes.
It would. But you're also left with people who would probably be very secretive about it.
I was just going to redact everything but Kohelet, but your guy,
Okay, yeah, that's
pretty
fair.
good.
Some
fair.
people would be secretive about it, but you have to keep in mind that they would also, like, televangelists would be into it, right? So culture would be totally different. Anyway,
Yeah, but maybe this is like
we're like 15 minutes in, and I haven't started reading.
Yeah, I think this is like a good like skit idea, though.
Yes.
We'll try it out. What if the
consider-
Gnostics won?
Consider potentially some sort of video thing where you talk about a different canon form by that. That'd be
By
an
the
interesting
Gnostics
project.
or by Jewish
Yeah.
mystics or something. Yeah, that'd be
you know what? We could do like a series of comedy skits where we have one of us act as a televangelist.
Yeah, I like that idea.
And wear like a cheap suit.
Yeah, I like that idea.
I bet Chris could do it. He can yell.
Yeah,
He loves to yell.
Not as much
Yeah,
anymore.
And by the way, thank you, Chris, for all your hard work behind the camera. The disembodied voice.
This is
no
button
one,
pushing. Don't
sees.
you glorify that?
By the way, guys, are we spinning a wheel?
We are spinning a wheel.
Shit.
Yeah,
Oh,
I should have
don't
pulled
even
that up.
have that.
Yeah. So while he pulls that up, I am going to quickly introduce this tearful letter, right? So this is one of the sections, just like chapter 8 and 9, chapters 1 through 7, which we have already talked about those collections before. They are in... for the reasons outlined, I take them to be written after the collection letters, but before the reconciliation letters. They are, in fact, the tearful letter to which Paul later refers. It caused him grief in its composition and was severe enough to make him temporarily regret its dispatch. On this reconstruction, having sent Titus and the brothers ahead with the collection letter, Paul followed them and came to Corinth, a visit which proved to be disastrous and to which this tearful letter frequently alludes. It appears that although Titus had succeeded in extracting some money, Paul's letter had been deeply resented and his reputation in the Corinthian church had suffered badly. There were already signs in 1 Corinthians that his apostolic authority was under question, but now it seems that criticism had become blatant to the extent of personal affront. The collection had attributed to this deterioration in relationship, but that was exacerbated by the presence in Corinth of other apostles, in quotes, in comparison with whom Paul appeared contemptible. Scholars have long debated the identity of these other apostles. Those whom Paul attacks as false apostles are probably the same individuals he sarcastically dubs super apostles. So yeah, we were wondering about that earlier.
Right, we had a mention of them in the commentaries.
Yeah, we did. So, it's meant as a sarcastic note.
Mm-hmm.
It appears. We'll get there when we get there. Honestly,
Yeah.
the rest of this isn't like super for it.
And as far as the Milwaukee Atheist version of the Bible, I've tried to get Lawrence to agree to it.
The thing is, I could do like a translation of like the Septuagint, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that would obviously take forever.
You also have the Greek New Testament.
No, I know. I have to do but the thing is, because I don't know Hebrew, right? So if we were to do a Milwaukee Atheist,
Well, I could learn Hebrew. It's not that I already know,
at least the alphabet, right?
And I know some
but I think-
words. The grammar.
But I think maybe and rather than trying to produce a canon, you could describe the edits that you would make of stuff. Text you think this part of text is not authentic, get rid of it. This is a book that they excluded that would make it more interesting. Include it here. You could sort of like an editor's notes about what you would do and why.
Yeah, I do like that idea.
Build the text.
I do like that idea. That is
More coherent canon. And this, people say this is a diversion, but this section is about false apostles, right? And we're talking about people who might have gotten the translation or loud text in that's false, or excluded text that could be more explanatory, because because some bishops said nah.
I think it would be easier if I were to just do like the New Testament first, honestly.
Sure.
Because I would understand all that stuff very well, like off the bat, because I already learned Greek and stuff.
Yeah, because all along you've mentioned like here's some words that were added, that might have been a monk's note that became accidentally canon. Here's an apocrypha that could be added that could help. Here's a text that's the wrong, title the wrong thing. That sort of, so you sort of do the cliff notes of a more coherent canon.
All right, that does sound like quite the project. Not against that. It would just take forever.
But I don't translate it. Just say some of the highlights of things that one would.
Yeah,
want
you
to
can
try.
use
Sure.
a public domain translation and produce your own commentary.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess that works.
Yeah, like This took what, 6 years? Yeah, let's take 10 more. Whatever.
I don't think you'd want to do an entire canon thing. You'd sit there and say, well, this book really should be, its authorship is blah, and so it should be the gospel of blah blah blah, right? This book is not titled correctly. Here's a notorious chapter that probably was added later on. You could delete, some of those highlights of stuff.
Yeah. That sounds like something I could do.
You should do red text, but the red text is everything that's textually questionable.
Gotcha. Okay, that sounds fun.
Oh. Anyway, that's ideas. So we have this section about false apostles and apparently Paul.
Yes, the wheel.
Oh. Okay. I was just vamping until the.
We appreciate that, Landon. We appreciate
Wheel's
that.
been ready for
Yes.
like 5 minutes.
Now that we have everyone, let's spinny
Wheelie, I guess.
Wheelie thingy. Does it go this way or this way?
I think it goes. I don't even remember.
It's Alice.
Ellis,
Hey,
you
Ellis.
got a T-shirt coming to you.
Yeah, Alice with the dub. Let's go.
Yeah, we'll have to send you a message about it.
Yeah. I'm not sure if he got the newest one or not.
We'll have to figure it out.
Yeah. So Alice wins. I'll message him about it.
Ellis, you
Ellis.
will be the proud owner of some Milwaukee Atheist paraphernalia.
Wow. I'd say merch,
but, I have a large stack of T-shirts because I've won a number of times. Not even if you ignore the times when I was like the only person in it, or a few people in it. But for those that want to become patrons, you can be on the wheel thing, and you too can get cool T-shirts. But you can go to the shop and buy them directly. You don't have to wait a month.
Exactly. You don't have to wait.
Oh yeah.
I like waiting.
Next time Landon goes down to Antarctica, we should
Send him down with some extra T-shirts.
send him down with a bunch of like Milwaukee Atheist like sweatshirts or something.
Yeah, that sounds great for Antarctica.
Yeah.
Thick
Uh,
ones.
like hand them around, make us internationally famous.
Well, I was gonna say, and as well as there was a well-known atheist that wanted to go down with me to Antarctica, but that didn't pan out. But yes, you should you consider doing a Milwaukee Atheist South Pole T-shirt.
All right.
Someday we might even be able to do the Antarctica special,
Well, I don't really want to do the Antarctica
where we
special.
do the stream from outdoors in Antarctica in an extremely like irresponsible way. Like,
Or if you can patch in a phone call, I could do a satellite call in and do a voice in for that.
yeah.
Oh boy! All right.
Okay, chapter 10.
Yeah, let's hop into the reading.
Chapter 10. Now I, Paul, myself beseech you by the meekness and gentleness of Christ, who in presence am base among you, but being absent am bold toward you. Now there's commentary in here.
So is he saying essentially, if if I were there, I'd be meek, but I'm not. So here comes my blast. Is that what he's saying?
Yep.
I mean, essentially, yeah. Like,
He's like, look, I'm not going to say this to your face, but
that would be rude if I said it to your face.
yeah. So there's commentary from the mild tone of the first 9 chapters of Paul's letter. It appears that the majority of the Corinthians believers have been won over to Paul after having been alienated by his Corinthian opponents. In this final section, however, Paul deals firmly with the slanders that have been spread against him in Corinth by the remaining opposition. Those who wish to discredit him have been saying that he is bold at a distance, threatening to take severe disciplinary action, especially in his letters, but they say he will not dare to be anything but weak and indecisive if he is present with them in person. In short, that he does not have the apostolic authority he claims to have. Paul is ready to prove otherwise should the occasion demand when he comes to Corinth for the third time. His appeal to the meekness and gentleness of Christ is an indication of his own affectionate desire to show these same qualities when present with them. In any case, though weak in himself, Paul is strong in the Lord, as the letter explains, and those who are rebellious can expect to feel the force of his divinely given authority.
And it seems like essentially he's that verse 1 is a self-fulfilling verse. Right? The people are accusing of that, and he's sort of doing that sort of thing. But again, Paul, from appearances of the text we've read so far, it was this zealot Saul, and his zealotry is just transformed into Christian zealotry, right? If he was still, if he wasn't a Christian, he'd be zealous. I mean, I think this is kind of the character flaw that I see with Paul. So I think his zeal causes his mouth to spew things that probably should have been more modest, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there. Yeah. I think the fact that he's so zealous is it doesn't work in his favor.
No.
Okay, well let's see him do the thing from afar. But as you said, was this letter written before his third visit or after his third visit?
Before his third visit, according to this one.
Yeah, so people do disagree with that sometimes. Yeah, sometimes think I think didn't they say in Erdman's that this one was before his third visit, I think, right? In this one. So yeah, he
it says before in here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so people do disagree on some of this stuff.
Okay.
But I beseech you that I may not be bold when I am present with that confidence wherewith I think to be bold against some which think of us as if we walked according to the flesh. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. And having in a readiness to revenge all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled.
Yeah, wow. Okay. So took a turn there, didn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, of course they're not waging war according to the flesh. So that's not like the reason they're waging this war. It's not a fleshly war. It's a spiritual war that they're fighting.
Yeah, and my text in verse 6 says, "And we are ready to punish all disobedience whenever your disobedience is complete or extensive."
Yes.
Yeah.
He's punishing his threat contrasts with his commendation in 7:15 for obedience. Okay.
He's obviously not happy when people don't listen to him.
No, he isn't. Do ye look on things after the outward appearance? If any man trust him to himself that he is Christ's, let him of himself think this again, that as he is Christ's, even so are we Christ's. For though I should boast somewhat more of our authority, which the Lord hath given us for edification, and not for your destruction, I should not be ashamed, that I may not seem as if I would terrify you by letters. For his letters, say they, are weighty and powerful, but his bodily presence is weak, and his speech is contemptible. Let such a one think this, that, such as we are in word by letters when we are absent, Such will we be also indeed when we are present.
Yeah, so it looks like his opponents are like, look at this scrawny guy. We're not gonna listen to him. He's so scrawny.
Yeah.
But I think it's also it's maybe his maybe he was not so bold in person in front of them as he was in writing.
Yeah,
I think is the implication. But I mean, can you just imagine this sort of Twitter war where he's tweeting and they're tweeting back and all this disrespectful sort of things?
Yeah, he can own people on Twitter, but in real life he's not as quick-witted.
I see. Paul's adversaries used a professional type of oratory at their stock and trade, designed to extract money from their gullible audiences. But Paul's manner of speaking was quite different. It was plain, straightforward, and free from artificiality. It was also free of charge, which meant if his slanderous opponents were to be believed, that what he said was worthless. But in coming to Corinth, Paul had purposely disdained academic eloquence and wisdom, and was determined to proclaim the message of Christ crucified, and the transformed lives of the Corinthian believers testified to the divine power with which he spoke. So that is what the study Bible says.
Yeah, and then Airbins, they note that this was essentially, the reason he's so mad about this is because this is essentially his territory, and they're basically stepping in on his turf. Mm-hmm. Like, he's got the authority as far as it goes, as far as it comes to apostleship. He's concerned that he has the authority in Corinth. So all these false prophets, all these super apostles, they're, they should just get the fuck out.
See, I'm the host and you're the co-host. You may think that you're the host and I'm the co-host, but that is clearly
there's
wrong.
only room for one host in this here.
I'm going to write a
podcast.
very spicy letter to you.
Yeah.
Yep. For we dare not make ourselves of the number or compare ourselves with some that commend themselves, but they, measuring themselves by themselves and comparing themselves among themselves, are not wise. But we will not boast of things without our measure, but according to the measure of a rule which God hath distributed to us, a measure to reach even unto you. For we stretch not ourselves beyond our measure, as though we reached not unto you. For we are come as far as to you also in preaching the gospel of Christ.
So that's him going like, yeah, obviously, like this, I went that far, like this is my turf.
Yeah. Not boasting of things without our measure, that is, of other men's labors, but having hope, when your faith is increased, that we shall be enlarged by you according to our rule abundantly, to preach the gospel in the regions beyond you, and not to boast in another man's line of things made ready to our hand. But he that glorifieth, let him glory in the Lord. For not that he commendeth himself is approved, but whom the Lord commendeth.
Yeah, in verse 17, my text says, he who boasts, let him boast in the Lord. And it has a reference to Jeremiah chapter 9, verse 24.
Yeah. So I actually forgot the book at home, but I was, right? So I was reading through a book, I think it's called Old Testament Texts in Paul's Christology or something like that. What is it? Yahweh Texts in Paul's Christology, something like that. And the reference there was to that part in Jeremiah. Yeah. But although this is the same thing that he kind of takes over for much of the letter, actually, about boasting. But if you're going to boast, you better boast in God.
Indeed, that is his idea.
That's his shtick, yeah.
Yep. Hey, if you're enjoying the stream so far, give us a like, comment, subscribe, and share it with your friends, family, neighbors. We're going to hop into chapter 11.
Yeah, chapter 11 works for me. Yeah, I don't think I have any, important textual commentary for chapter 10. So, yeah, we can hop
it's a very straightforward diss.
Yeah.
In my text, it refers to this section as Paul defends his apostleship.
Yeah, essentially.
Credentials of the true apostle, Paul's version is what.
All right, so let's hop into chapter 11, shall we? And remember,
Yes.
if you guys don't drop a like or click that notification bell,
Stuff happens.
essentially stuff happens. The world will end.
Oh, no.
And it's been a proven fact that if you do click the notification bell and get updated every single time we post a video, you will, in fact, keep the world going. It is because of your efforts that the world can survive. So, just saying.
Let the cosmos continue, but you might consider clicking that like button. You know, the thing that looks like a little hand with a thumbs up.
All right.
You can do a thumbs down if you want, but
Any interaction.
Consider clicking the like button.
All right, let's hop into chapter 11.
Do it.
I wish you would bear with me in a little foolishness.
Oh,
Do bear with me.
Paul being foolish? Wow. What
And never happens.
Foolishness, aphrosyne, the opposite of moderation or sober-mindedness. 1 Corinthians 1-3 uses different words for
Oh, does it?
foolishness. Greek, moria, moros, whose opposite is wisdom, Sophia.
So I'm currently looking at this.
Yeah. And on the my text says, the last part of that verse 1, an alternative translation could be "do indeed bear with me," as opposed to "indeed you are bearing with me." Do indeed bear with me. Right? He's basically saying, I wish to have a little foolishness, so bear with me. Right?
Yeah. So he's be patient. That's the word that's being used there. Second person imperfect. Anekomai. Yeah, anekomai. Okay, so all right. Yeah, it looks like it does say little. Yeah, I guess the best way to translate it would be like a little bit of foolishness. Yeah. Would be the best way to put that. Because Greek is weird. It can't exactly have a perfect translation of any language. But anyways, for I feel a divine jealousy for you, since I betrothed you to one husband, to present you as a pure virgin to Christ.
So this divine jealousy, a zeal inspired by God. See 1 Kings 19:10, Elijah's proclamation that he had been zealous for the Lord. In Hebrew, as in Greek, the same verbal root conveys the sense of both jealousy and zealousness. Promising in marriage, Paul presents himself as the father of a chaste bride, that is the founder of the congregation.
Yeah, so the word is zelo. Right?
I guess.
Yeah. All right. Gonna continue on here. So he's saying that, he's jealous there. But I am afraid that as the serpent deceived Eve by his cunning, your thoughts will be led astray from a sincere and pure devotion to Christ.
So,
Interesting.
Paul is probably thinking of a tradition that that Satan sexually seduced Eve.
Well,
as in 2 Enoch 31:6.
Did we? I know we covered 2 Enoch. Do you remember that?
I don't quite recall.
The sexual seduction of Eve by Satan?
Don't recall that.
I don't recall that.
Not vividly.
It might have been in there somewhere. But there was, of course, Yaldabaoth.
Well, yeah, that's a totally different
much later
thing.
Yes.
So I'm trying to think of that part. I don't remember. Do we still have those books? But they would take a while to actually find anything.
No.
Here, if you want, I think this copy over here that we have has titles, right? I don't know if that one has titles.
Hold on. It says 2 Enoch 31:6.
Oh, you got it. Okay, yeah. All right. All right. So yeah, because I don't remember that. We did read Second Enoch. I don't remember that. It's interesting. We were just talking about it on Aaron's show too, and I don't remember that actually came up about the sexual seduction of Eve by Satan, and I just did not remember that. So it'd be, I don't know. It's just weird. So the so the part here is just that he doesn't want them to be led astray. So, but yeah, it just says it does say the serpent deceived Eve. I don't know if that's necessarily...
this is actually recorded as 31:5 in here, not 31:6.
Okay.
It says, and he understood his condemnation in the sin, which he had sinned before. Therefore he conceived thought against Adam. In such form he entered and seduced Eve, but did not touch Adam.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right. Just completely forgot about that.
Might even consider, Paul's bringing this up because of his attitude towards women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, too. Although there is a textual issue here. So it says sincerity, right? The one that... it looks like sometimes that part's not included. So, from the sincerity and the purity. In this case, it's devotion. It looks like. So
right.
This section, in this set of variant readings, there are different ways in which to understand the external evidence and what changes copyists may have made. The reading in the UBS text has the support of ancient and good witnesses. Assuming that this longer text is original, it is easy to see how a copyist's eye may have passed accidentally from Aplothot. Okay. So I see they have so one starts with there's aplotetos, and the other one is agnotetos. So it's easy to see how someone would skip from one to the other. And they may have omitted that second portion because they thought they had just finished it. It'd be more difficult to account for the reversed order of words. So there's one where they are switched, where it's purity and then sincerity. It's not a huge deal, right? But then he goes on to say that since the evidence is rather evenly divided between those witnesses that include purity and those that do not, the words kai tes agnotetos, and that would be and the purity, have been kept in the text but put in brackets to indicate uncertainty about the original text. It doesn't matter, but this is one of those changes that an accident, and it also doesn't change anything theologically. So, continuing on.
Indeed.
For if someone comes and proclaims another Jesus than the one we proclaimed, or if you receive a different spirit from the one you received, or if you accept a different gospel from the one you accepted, you put up with it readily enough. Might be a reference to those other prophets, right?
Mm-hmm. Certainly,
because they're the ones in Josephus, right? There's a Jesus of Jerusalem, and anyways, indeed, I consider that I am not in the least inferior to these super apostles. Mm-hmm. Even if I am unskilled in speaking, I am not so in knowledge. Indeed, in every way, we have made this plain to you in all things.
Yeah, my text, instead of using super apostles, say most eminent apostles. I don't know what this super apostle thing is, but it's...
The super apostle is a sarcastic title Paul assigns his opponents, though some commentators hold that the reference is to the apostles chosen by Jesus in his lifetime.
Oh, this is really funny, actually. So the word that is being used is hyperlian. So that'll be like a superlative, right? So yeah, it would just be super apostles. That's the word that's being used. But what I also wanted to point out, so in verse 6, so the word that is used is the word that is used as untrained. And well, in this translation it's untrained. But in this one, when it says unskilled, right? The word that is used is idiotes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just the word idiot, which is very funny to me. But yeah, either way, he's saying like, yeah, you know what? I may not be the best in speaking, but hey, I'm sure smarter than they are.
Of course, Paul. Or
did I commit a sin in humbling myself so that you might be exalted because I preached God's gospel to you free of charge? I robbed other churches by accepting support from them in order to serve you.
So slanderous criticism made by Paul's adversaries was that he refused to accept payment for his instruction, and it proved that it was worth nothing. This accusation at the same time helped to cloak their own grasping character, since their method of operation, like that of the first century traveling philosophers and religious teachers, was to demand payment for their professional services. Paul, his enemies said, was lowering himself and committing a sin by breaking a rule that a teacher must receive payment in proportion to the worth of his performance.
Wow. That's quite the monetary system they have.
Wow. Yeah.
I can't even provide something to you free of charge.
Right, yeah.
I'm required to be paid for my services.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, in 1 Corinthians 9, Paul had set out at elaborate length the apostolic right to material support, only to insist that he had waived this right because of his commission to preach the gospel free of charge. Ridiculous.
Yeah, he was overpaid.
Yeah. Although he did have to, if we were to go along with what it says in Acts, he certainly went through a lot of shit doing it. Mm-hmm. A lot of people like to chase him out of town. That was like their favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
And start riots.
Chase him out of town again.
Yeah.
A good time.
All right, continue.
Yeah, we'll do. I robbed other churches by accepting support from them in order to serve you. And when I was with you and was in need, I did not burden anyone, for the brothers who came from Macedonia supplied my need. So I refrained and will refrain from burdening you in any way. As the truth of Christ is in me, this boasting of mine will not be silenced in the regions of Achaia. And why? Because I do not love you? God knows I do. And what I am doing, I will continue to do in order to undermine the claim of those who would like to claim that in their boasted mission, they work on the same terms as we do. For such men are false apostles, deceitful workmen, disguising themselves as apostles of Christ. And no wonder, for even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. So it is no surprise if his servants also disguise themselves as servants of righteousness. So their end will correspond to their deeds.
So
wow, he's almost like boy, a bunch of jealousy, a bunch of anger. I think he feels a little bit slighted, and he's putting his personal, he's got a personal, almost like he's got a personal grudge on this sort of thing. And it's interesting that this is put into canon, this behavior.
Right. Now, there are a couple things about this section. First, the false apostles. Of course, the Tanakh says to kill them.
Right, yeah.
The rabbinic law dealt harshly only with teachers who led people into false beliefs or instructed them to act contrary to the law. At the same time, the rabbis accepted and legitimated disagreement, carefully preserving minority opinions and perspectives that had been rejected through rabbinic debate. As for Satan disguising himself, a Talmudic source depicts Satan disguising himself as a woman to entangle in sin even such rabbis as Meir and Akiva,
Wow.
who had declared that people can easily subdue their evil inclinations.
Do you remember the Testament of Job, where Satan is like following Job's wife around for a little bit, and then she because Satan's making good points in that book, right? He was like, hey, Job, like to his wife, Job is doing nothing for you. Like, you got to tell him to get off his ass. He's been sleeping on a pile of shit for like 30 years or something. And he's been doing nothing. You've been the one that's been doing everything for the family. And she's like, yeah, you're right. Good point. And then the moment that she comes back and voices her complaint to Job, he's like, that's the devil talking. It was a comedy, that one. That one was fun.
That one was pretty
and then
wild
Satan disguised himself multiple times, right? Like to try to get into the temple and whatnot.
Yes.
Yeah. Or into Job's house. I forget which one. Both, maybe. I don't know. He disguised himself to get into the temple and then got worshipped. And I don't know. It's a silly book. But yeah, so they're him demonizing his opponents, quite literally in this case.
Yes, they're servants of Satan.
Yeah. He's done this before. So Romans 16, 17 through 20. And he does this also in Philemon 3:2 and 18 through 19. Yeah. So he does that often. So continuing on here. I repeat, let no one think me foolish. But even if you do, accept me as a fool, so that I too may boast a little.
Okay, fool. Continue on.
Yeah, Landon's like, yeah, okay.
Not you.
All right, yeah. Landon's like, yeah, all right then. I'll do that.
Yep.
What I am saying with this boastful confidence, I say not as the Lord would, but as a fool. Since many boast according to the flesh, I too will boast. For you gladly bear with fools, being wise yourselves.
So Paul is choosing to stoop to what he thinks is beneath him to their level, right?
Yes. Yeah, essentially.
This is in the canon. So
this is what you're supposed
what
to
he
be
does.
like. Ideally.
Well, this is honestly, Paul is just he's just kind of butthurt with this whole thing, right?
yeah.
So we're not actually there yet. Okay. But yeah, this is he's let's be honest, he's kind of having a little bit of a tantrum. Like, yeah, I'm sure that they are assholes and that they shouldn't do that. And I know that he's doing this rhetorically, right? Like, this is his point.
But he is gladly stooping to the level. If this is like in Twitter, they trolled him, and so he is trolling back.
Essentially, yeah.
Troll back, and yet this is part of canon. This is part of the thing I find Paul's behavior and many of Paul's opinions to be disgusting. And in part of my contempt for him is that there are Christians who model themselves after this behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
This,
they're not the gentle, meek thing. They're the arrogant and people who build up these hierarchies and put themselves at the top and have all this stuff. I mean, because again, what we've seen so far is the whole this bit about super apostles and pecking orders and so forth.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider this particular behavior here to be disgusting. Like, I get why he's mad. But so I understand, like, I kind of want to troll back. Like, I get it. but it's kind of childish, I would say, more than anything.
And I guess you might say, well, why would he use disgusting? Again, I think it's because of the impact that this text has. I've heard sermons where people, preachers try to basically puff up their importance, to denigrate those who say you're just a whack a job or you're a false preacher, and they use this kind of text and argument as an example, right?
Well,
so what's disgusting is the result of this.
Sure.
And I don't know about the other letter writers of the era. Perhaps it was a common social thing to get into insult contests.
They would, yeah. It was actually pretty common, more common than you'd think. They would kind of write against each other like that.
Mm-hmm. So
it was especially common in the Roman period. Yeah, we were talking about this the other day, right?
Yeah.
With that poet.
Oh right, Catalyst.
Yeah. So it was pretty common.
Yeah. So
just throwing shade at each other.
It could be that
maybe humans are just childish.
Well, it could be that this is like a cultural artifact of that, like diss tracks.
Yeah, yeah, like that.
Right.
Still accepting Lawrence diss tracks. Anyways,
we're waiting.
Yeah, I will continue on here. Yeah, for you gladly bear with fools, being wise yourselves. For you bear it if someone makes slaves of you, or devours you, or takes advantage of you, or puts on airs.
Puts on airs. What verse is that?
In 20? What the hell? Hold on. Puts on airs. Have you guys ever heard that phrase?
No.
Yeah.
What is that?
On airs, right? High airs that the heirs would be sort of like they have high lofty status, like someone who tries to act like a noble person, or a distinguished person.
Mm-hmm. Mine says
heirs being high.
Well, mine has a different translation. It says, in fact, you even put up with anyone who enslaves you or exploits you or takes advantage of you or pushes himself forward or slaps you in the face.
Right, yeah. So, I get that it's, people who... they're describing a lot of shitty traits, right? And they can put up with all those shitty traits. So putting on airs would be someone... Yeah, okay, so Craig said boasting would make sense.
You're referring to verse 20?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Because it says, because it bears with me, anyone who slays you, if he devours you, he takes advantage of you, he exalts himself if he hits you in the face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's the same idea then. I was just wondering about that verse. I've never heard that phrase in my life. Or puts on airs or strikes you in the face. To my shame, I must say, we were too weak for that. And it looks like there are some manuscript. There are some manuscripts that have a different variation there, but we were weak is like the far better translation there, or the far better textual witness there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think that makes sense to me now. All right, so but whatever anyone else dares to boast of, I am speaking as a fool. I also dare to boast. I also dare to boast of that. Are they Hebrews? So am I. Are they Israelites? So am I. Are they offspring of Abraham? So am I. Are they servants of Christ? I am a better one. Whoa. I am talking like a madman with far greater labors, far more imprisonments, with countless beatings and often near death.
So the terms Hebrews, Israelites, descendants of Abraham, these three terms are never used together in the Tanakh. In the New Testament, the three terms for Jews are used interchangeably, with no clear difference in implication. The Tanakh uses the term Hebrew, and most commonly in the Tanakh and rabbinic literature, children of Israel, or simply Israelites, to refer to the people later known as Jews. In the Tanakh, the term descendants or seed of Abraham does not appear in the sense of the Jews. It appears only rarely in later Jewish literature, likely because not all of Abraham's descendants were Jews.
Yeah, so this is like the you guys listen to boasters? Well, I can boast too, and then he goes off on his boast.
Yeah, I mean, previously sort of putting down those that are boasting, he's doing it himself. So yeah, and
yeah, essentially, because
he's going to continue to try and puff himself up.
Yep, that is all that's going to happen for the rest of the chapter.
Yeah, because essentially that's what he was announcing that he was going to do, right? He was going to boast. That's what he kept saying. I think here what is happening to him is he just really wants people to listen to him, and they're not, so he starts taking up the tendencies of the people that they are listening to. Even though he was still listened to for the most part in Corinth, I think, right? But apparently he had some detractors, and yeah, he's taking up some of their qualities that he thinks might get him more pushback. But yeah, that's quite a he's like, I'm talking like a madman. So maybe maybe this is the thing where they're like, oh, now I see that those guys over there, they're also talking like madmen.
Right.
Yeah, he's just turning up the dial to 11, right?
He's making a mockery of them by being a caricature of them.
Essentially, yeah.
My guess is he's actually envying their behavior, and he's letting himself indulge in stoop down to the level. So he's being. I read it as he's being a bit hypocritical, right? He's condemned that kind of behavior before, and now he's had it, and so he's going to stoop to what he thinks is their level.
Right, but the thing is, I think
he also may have had many motivations.
True, yeah. I think that since he realizes it, saying something like "I'm talking like a madman," I think since he realizes it and acknowledges it, I think he might just be doing it for that rhetorical effect, that caricature thing. So, yes, obviously he's being hypocritical here. I think that might be the point of his. No, not really the point, but
did you finish verse 23?
Verse 23. Yes.
I have an aside.
Okay.
Synagogue discipline.
Oh shit.
Of the 3 judiciary punishments Paul endured, lashes and stoning alone are known from Jewish sources. Stoning is one of early Judaism's 4 prescribed methods of capital punishment, alongside strangulation, beheading, and burning. This clearly is not what Paul experienced. Flogging was ancient Judaism's only form of corporal punishment, and it is the subject of an entire tractate of the Mishnah, Makot, lashes. The use of lashes as a judicial punishment derives from Deuteronomy 25:1-3, which sentences a guilty party to a maximum of 40 lashes. If more are given, your neighbor will be degraded in your sight. The 40 minus 1 Paul describes reflects the rabbinic reading of Deuteronomy 25:3 as allowing up to, but not to include, the 40th lash, as the Talmud says.
Wow.
Yeah. Later exegetes explain that imposing only 39 lashes assures that an error in counting will not result in the biblical limits being surpassed. Depending on the nature of the crime and state of health of the individual, fewer than 39 lashes might also have been inflicted. Prior to the flogging, the person's health was assessed, and a number of lashes.
How kind.
Yeah, a number of lashes that would not kill or irreparably injure him was determined. The appropriate number was set by the rabbis of the Mishnah as a multiple of 3, another reason that a maximum of 39 lashes could be inflicted. Flogging was imposed for violations of negative commandments that involved physical action, e.g. inappropriate sexual relations, violations of temple purity, self-mutilation in the form of mourning, and tattooing.
Tattooing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That is one of the
Tattooing.
things.
Mm-hmm. While the Mishnah does not contemplate mere speech or thoughts as grounds for flogging, the Babylonian Talmud specifies flogging for one who makes a false oath or takes God's name in vain.
They took oaths very seriously
Yes,
back in the
they
day.
did.
Which is why people are still like, I remind you, you are under oath. I am a
Yeah.
judge.
thus violating Exodus
That's how they say it, too.
27 and Deuteronomy 5:11. While Scripture states that God will never exonerate such an individual, someone who takes the Lord's name in vain, the Talmud conceived that the human court, through lashes, could do so. Later rabbinic law does not fully clarify exactly how or in what setting Paul's actions might have been adjudicated and a corporal punishment imposed by a court.
Yeah, I think like the general outline of Acts where he goes around and gets kicked out of places and goes to prison, that probably has like some grain of truth to it, right?
Yeah.
People may have been mad. He may have been thrown in prison, maybe once at least. So yeah, he's obviously got some backlash for this. Anyways, yeah. So onto verse 24. 5 times I received at the hands of the Jews the 40 lashes less 1. That's the one you were talking about. 3 times I was beaten with rods. Once I was stoned.
Just once?
Yeah, just once. Man, what a bummer. Come on.
And obviously it's not in reference to being stoned to death. And these would not be applied. It's only the lashes that would be applied unless he would be dead.
Yeah, definitely.
And the 25, the verse 25, the word stone has in my text has a reference to Acts chapter 14 verse 19.
Oh yeah, that would make sense. They're probably referencing a lot of stuff in Acts here. It's good to have good to have that stuff on hand. Yeah. Continuing on here. Yeah, 3 times I was shipwrecked. A night and a day I was adrift at sea, on frequent journeys, in danger from rivers, danger from robbers, danger from my own people, danger from Gentiles, danger in the city, danger in the wilderness, danger at sea, danger from false brothers.
So it sounds like he's on the highway to
Danger
the
Will
danger
Robinson.
zone.
Yeah, right. The danger zone. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
He took a ride into the danger zone. That's what he did. And that is a great song, by the way. Danger Zone. Anyways.
Keep it up.
Yep, we'll do. What else is he in danger of? In toil and hardship, through many a sleepless night, in hunger and thirst, often without food, in cold and exposure, and apart from other things, there is the daily pressure on me of my anxiety for all the churches.
Being beaten with rods was a Roman and not a Jewish punishment. And for the stoning, form of capital punishment, the convicted is pushed from a high place, and then if he is still alive, crushed with a single heavy boulder dropped on him. There's no evidence that Jewish courts under Greek and then Roman control ever had the authority to administer a death penalty. What Paul is referring to is clearly not a form of capital punishment, is unattested in the rabbinic literature.
And to that extent, the verse 24, the 39 lashes or the 40 less 1 is a reference to Deuteronomy chapter 25 verse 3.
Yes.
But which is not a capital punishment thing. It's just a beat the hell out of the person because God said we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, very very angry people. Yeah, who is weak? And wait, hold on. Who is weak and I am not weak?
Yes.
Oh, this is okay. So there's probably some issue with the Greek here. It's probably just weirdly worded.
So closely did Paul identify himself with them that he felt the weakness of any member who was weak. If anyone was led into sin, he not only burned up with indignation against the person responsible, but also experienced the shame of the offense and longed for the restoration of the one who had stumbled. So, when he's talked before about how the body is the body of the people, right? They are a source of strength for each other. They're also a source of weakness for each other because we see
mob mentality.
Yeah, it's like addition, right?
Like addition?
Like a transitive property.
Okay. Yes. Like the transitive property. Who is made to fall, and I am not indignant? If I must boast, I will boast of the things that show my weakness. The God and the Father of the Lord Jesus, he who is blessed forever, knows that I am not lying. At Damascus, the governor under King Aretas was guarding the city of Damascus in order to seize me. But I was let down in a basket through a window in the wall and escaped his hands.
And that is the end of chapter 11.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're enjoying... Wait a second. Lawrence.
Wait a minute.
Do you hear something?
I do hear something.
Is there a sound problem?
There might be a sound.
Behold, I am your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and I want to let all you heathens and sinners know that I support this wonderful episode of Atheist Sunday School. Lawrence and Reuben try their very best to bring you the true glory of the Bible, and they need your help. They have provided links to their Patreon page and other social media just for you. Once again, my name is Jesus Christ, and this is Milwaukee Atheists. The Lord is with them. God bless.
Oh my God, Jesus. Hey, thanks for stopping in. You got to talk to your boy Paul because your boy Paul, he's
going crazy to prove that people are crazy.
Are crazy, yes. I think you should talk to him. Is he okay? Also, it seems like in all this, Reuben and Landon have disappeared. Look at that. That is awful. That is awful. I am not sure what I would do without them. They're always by my side. But you know what? I suppose I will go it alone for now. Although it seems like Landon has appeared. Landon, where did you go? Did Jesus take you?
Well, I will not. I will neither confirm nor deny that I had a argument about Paul continue to be butthurt to express his zealotry, his misogyny, his attitude towards all kinds of other people, expressing them as if it's God's word. I had a discussion about whether or not that was appropriate, but I can neither confirm nor deny that. So.
All right. Well, I'm glad that you may or may not have talked to him. And oh my God,
Yes.
you're back.
I have returned.
Oh shit. Okay.
I can neither confirm nor deny the existence of aliens based off of what I've seen.
Well, I'm glad that you may or may not have talked to aliens. Okay. So let's so we got chapter 12 coming in. I believe that one will be all up to Landon.
Yes.
Yes, and in this thing, my text talks about Paul's vision, a thorn in the flesh, and Christian conduct, because Paul should be so So revealed. We'll see. So are we ready?
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
Chapter 12. Boasting is necessary, though it is not profitable. But I will go on to visions and revelations of the Lord.
Yeah, apparently.
Boast, but he's
Yeah, sorry to already interrupt, Landon.
Yeah.
So this section here. So yeah, it is necessary to boast. The difficulty of understanding the meaning of this verse led copyists at an early date to make various changes. The original text appears to be preserved in P46 and manuscript B, and the other witnesses listed in the critical apparatus of the UBS. In some witnesses, de, or indeed, or it is true that, is read instead of the impersonal verb de. It is necessary. The similarity in sound in later Greek between a and so it would be a and may explain the reading of de. So if de were original, and one has like a an eta, and the other one is an epsilon iota. So if de were original, the meaning would be to boast is indeed not useful. Other witnesses have the particle de, which means but, like for the start of a sentence, like but, and then so on. That's what the particle de means, with an epsilon. So other witnesses have the particle de instead of de. A copyist may have accidentally omitted the iota. Yeah, if de were original, the meaning would be, but to boast is not useful. Other witnesses have the conditional particle a, so that'd be if, at the beginning of the sentence. So yeah, you can see. So even though it is necessary to boast, because of how weird it is and how similar some of it sounded, copyists would have changed it either on purpose or even by accident.
Yes. And I have something after you finish the next verse.
So my thing as well on the item where it says, though it is not profitable. I assume that profitable here is not dealing with monetary, but in terms of stature or being or one's status, right?
Yeah, it's not. The thing is, it says that there's nothing to gain from.
Oh, I get it.
That's my
I get
translation.
it. So he says that if he's going to boast, he's going to boast about God, right? About Jesus.
Yeah.
And then he goes on to say, I must go on boasting. Although there's nothing to be gained, I will go on to visions and revelation from the Lord. So he's saying that it's like an involuntary thing for him. He has to boast about the Lord.
Yeah.
If he must boast, he will boast about the Lord.
And in my text that another way to translate the end of verse 1 is revelations from the Lord, as opposed to of.
Oh, mine says from. It was just on the corner there.
Okay, so verse 2. Let me read that, and then you can go on there. It says, "I know a man in Christ who 14 years ago, whether in body I do not know, or out of body I do not know, God knows, such a man was caught up to the third heaven."
Yes. By the first centuries.
God, I love the layers of heaven.
Yes. Jews imagined the existence of multiple hierarchically arranged heavens through which the soul after death or a person in a state of ecstasy in life could ascend to God's throne. See, for example, Exodus Rabbah 25:7 through 8 and 45:6.
And we have read plenty of texts on Friday Apocrypha podcast that talk about the layers of heaven.
Yes. Some texts, including the early 1st Enoch 14, probably 2nd century BCE, depict a three-tiered cosmology, while Sefer Razim, the Book of Mysteries, 3rd to 4th centuries CE, describes the soul as passing through 7 heavens, including a 4th one in which it observes the sun, which the soul addresses by the Greek Kyrie, Lord. crossing from east to west under the world.
And it would be so the word that's used for Lord there. I hate that they use a Y when it's a U. So it should be so kurios is the word for Lord.
Okay. It appears that by Paul's day, a full complement of 7 heavens was commonly conceived. Thus, 4th Ezra, 2nd Esdras, late 1st century CE, depicts in parallel 7 levels of degradation experienced after death by the souls of those who have scorned God, and at 790 through 98, 7 heavens traversed by the souls of those who have kept the ways of the Most High. In the lower heavens, righteous souls witness the confusion in which the souls of the ungodly wander. Later, upon reaching the highest 7th heaven, the souls of the righteous behold the face of God, the one, right, the one whom they served in their lifetimes. Rabbinical authorities debate the number of firmaments and what they contain. Exodus Rabbah 25:7-8 refers to the 3rd heaven as paradise. In another, Rabbi Simeon ben Lakish lists 7 heavens referred as curtains, firmament, clouds, lofty abode, dwelling, residence, heavy cloud. Rosh Hashanah 24b portrays the diverse attendants that serve in the different levels of heavens. Although such passages discuss various heavens, they do not, with one exception, portray either the souls or a mystic's passage through them. Still, as proof that a journey of such as Paul describes was common currency, one of the Talmud's most famous passages, BHAG 14b, I guess Haggai 14b, relates the story of 4 rabbis who entered paradise and experienced that only one of them survived intact so as to attain a vision of God. While mystical ideas appear to have been well known in the rabbis' day, Talmudic sources infrequently refer to them. The rabbis' depiction of mystical activity as dangerous and their insistence that these topics not be generally studied point to the rabbis' overall perspective that mystical activity was to be shunned.
Yeah. And by the way, there's a discussion of whether or not we should have done the behold when you read the behold. But for example, these beholds I have are not beholding because I say behold, because otherwise, if we beheld when we beheld, we would just be in an endless cycle of beholding.
Right.
So
it's only when it's active in the reading.
Yeah.
Because I'm in a nice cathedral, I could have done the whole.
The whole shebang,
you could do it. You can still do it.
Okay. Behold.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I definitely heard that one.
Yeah, we got some fuzz there at the end, too.
Brilliant. Love it.
Okay.
Wonderful.
So does that make up for the half-assed behold, guys?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it does.
Even
It
though,
makes
even though
up for
technically
it.
it was not a textual behold,
Right?
Mhm.
But it was a brilliant behold nonetheless.
Yeah.
Now there's other versions of that where I could do more melodic thing, but I just started wanting to do the echo stuff. Anyway, so let's get back to the text because Paul is continuing to in his butthurt thing, stooping himself down to what he condemns. So let's do this. Verse 3, I guess we're at.
Yep.
And I know how such a man, whether in the body or apart from the body, I do not know, God knows, was caught up to paradise and heard inexpressible words, which a man is not permitted to speak.
So,
some secret knowledge. No.
one thing that's here, when he's talking about this man, in rabbinic anecdotes, narrators may refer to themselves in the third person, generally as that man. So Paul may be referencing.
Yeah, it's also nice that he dates it for us, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know a man in Christ who 14 years ago was caught up into the third heaven.
Yeah, and it's that's basically fancy words for I can neither confirm nor deny, but I'm going to tell you about it anyway.
Yeah. April with the membership of
Yes.
2 months.
Thank
Let's
you.
go. Thank you, April. Very much appreciated. And yes, you're right. That was a magnificent behold.
Yes. Wonderful.
Well, thank you. I tried to determine whether I wanted to go for volume or go for intonation. And there's various things to do that, but we'll have that for now. Even though it was there. So verse 5. On behalf of such a man, I will boast. Well, I've been doing that already, so you don't need to tell us that. But on my own behalf, I will not boast, except in regard to my weakness. So this is kind of the equivalent of where the person says, a person says, unaccustomed am I to public speaking, and then delivers a speech. That sort of thing. Verse 6. For if I do wish to boast, I shall not be foolish, for I shall be speaking the truth. I shall refrain from this, so that no one may credit me more than he sees me or hears from me.
I think
sees in me or hears from me.
So no one will think more of me than is warranted by what I do or say.
Yeah.
And because of surpassing greatness of the revelations for this reason, to keep me from exalting myself, there was given me a thorn in the flesh, a messenger of Satan, to buffet me, to keep me from exalting myself.
Yeah, so do you have a bit of commentary here? So the preferred,
so do I.
Yeah, so the preferred boast and weakness explains Paul's reference here to the thorn in the flesh. Interpreters have suggested every kind of social, psychological, and physical phenomenon to explain this mysterious phrase. It is just possible that it refers to opposition or harassment, like the thorn in Israel's side in Numbers 33:55. But it is more likely that some chronic physical ailment is in view. Theories could fill a medical textbook. Although this torment is on one level satanic, on another it is under the Lord's control.
The messenger of Satan. In a statement assigned to early authorities, one rabbinic tractate states, Satan comes to earth and seduces, then ascends to heaven and awakens wrath. The continuation of the passage equates Satan with what the rabbis call the Yetzer Hara, the inclination to do evil. Paul's own experience of Satan's temptation prevented his becoming too self-satisfied. Here. This is the thorn in his side.
Yeah.
It's the Yetzer Hara.
All right.
Yeah. So verse 8. Concerning this, I have entreated the Lord 3 times that it might depart from me. Verse 9, for the reason I underlined for it probably preached in some sermon.
Unfortunate.
Verse 9 says, and he said to me, quote, my grace is sufficient for you, for power is perfected in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, I would rather boast about my weakness than the power of Christ, that the power of Christ might dwell in me, or may dwell in me is another way. So a different way of saying this is that most gladly, therefore, I will rather boast about my weakness, that the power of Christ may dwell in me. So he's saying essentially, well, okay, I'm going to, power is weakness, so I'm going to be weak.
Mm-hmm. There is the perspective here in the Jewish annotated New Testament is that participation in angelic worship is acceptable only when it is characterized by Christ-like humility and reliance on God. Paul rejects mystical experiences that distract from the central message of faith. Note the similar rabbinic treatment of Honi the circle drawer. The rabbis praise his spiritual power and closeness to God, even as they assert anyone else who makes demands of God, as Honi does, would be subject to excommunication.
And Ryan with the 2-month membership. Very much appreciated, Ryan.
Yes,
and
we're
glad that you're here too.
Yes.
Thank you, Ryan.
And if you want your messages to pop up in the chat like that, and you're not a member, you could become a member by clicking the member button.
You could do that, yeah.
There's 2 kinds of members. There's basic membership and priority membership.
Yeah. Once we have more not emotes, like once we're gonna get like the badges sorted out too, because we want them to be more than just stars, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's also people can gift memberships. Can they do that?
They can gift memberships.
Yes,
that is
they
true.
can.
I don't know if it's like a random thing, or I think it's a random thing, right? Because that's what popped up last time someone got gifted one. It was a random one. So I don't know. I'm guessing that YouTube would prioritize people who are already in chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The algorithm from a person who coded it is that you have to want to accept memberships, and your participation in the chat improves your chances of getting it.
That makes sense.
And that you also
Thank you.
but
And Justin, also, thank you. J $sign with the big 2-month membership as well. And RAR to you, XD. Remember those days?
Oh, jeez.
The RAR XD days.
like an animal version of Behold.
Which is worse, the UWU era or the XD era?
I kind of like the XD era.
The XD era was better.
Everything should just have 2 X's in front of it and behind it.
Yeah.
Right, like every username. Yeah.
XX underscore something.
Yeah.
Blood.
Back in the day.
Underscore XX.
Yeah.
Yep.
Why were we like that?
I don't know why people did that.
That was the internet, man.
Yeah.
The internet, yeah.
Wild.
People didn't ever use their real names on the internet back then. Look at our chat.
No.
Look.
That's right.
Imagine
Yeah, right, yeah.
this chat in early like IRC chats.
Yeah, that would not happen.
Yeah, you wouldn't have spaces in there. I mean, that's why, for example, my username was Chongo, in an online stuff, because first of all, you couldn't have spaces, and secondly, you didn't name yourself. You used something else. So the reason why Chongo, you have to wait until we're at a pub or bar over a beer.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Well,
But it goes back to 1974. So that's just bizarre.
Yeah, back in
oh,
the day.
jeez.
So verse 10, because I don't want to stoop to Paul's boasting, because that would be power perfected in weakness, right? So again, let me do verse 9 again to give you context and go to verse 10. And he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for power is perfected in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, I would rather boast about my weakness, that the power of the Lord may dwell in me. Therefore, I am well content with weakness, with insults, with duress, with persecutions, with difficulties, for Christ's sake, for I am weak, then I am strong.
Wow, this is some like 1984 level stuff. War is peace, weakness is strength.
Well, it sounds more like because he was setting up the whole thing about why weakness is strength is because, if you boast in your weakness, then you're strong with the Lord, and that's the true strength.
Because he says so.
Yes.
It has Paul has the appearance of being butthurt, and therefore he's trying to get revenge using this, well, I'm going to pretend to be weak, but that's because I'm strong, but my strength is weakness because the Lord, blah, blah, blah. Because I was beaten and had these things to me, that was because I'm a great person, and if you are not as persecuted, then there. And in fact, I think I suspect some of the puritanical practices about self-flagellation, beating your flesh, is part of this sort of weakness thing, right? Somebody, particularly in the puritanical church services in New Hampshire from my relatives in the 1670s, talk about it's considered godly to have flogged yourself, put on a hair shirt, and come to service in a weakened state. That people sort of try to perfect this. Well, I am punishing my flesh because I'm great in the Lord, and if you are healthy and smiling, you're not as godly as I am.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate that they do that at all.
Yeah, and I could tell you some tales from family history of that sort of thing. But anyway, so verse 11, I have become foolish. Yeah, I could say that again. I have become foolish. You yourselves compelled me. Actually, I should be commended by you. For no respect was I inferior to the most eminent apostles,
Super
even though
apostles.
I am a nobody.
Yeah, good old super apostles.
Yes. The signs of a true apostle were performed amongst you all with all perseverance, the signs and wonders and miracles. For in what respect were you treated as an inferior to the rest of the churches, except that I myself did not become a burden to you? Forgive me this wrong.
Yeah, so here he's referencing his refusal to accept payment for preaching.
Here, for a third time, I am ready to come to you, and I will not be a burden to you. I do not seek what is yours, but you, for children, are not responsible to save up for their parents, but the parents for their children. And I will most gladly spend and be expended for your souls, for I love you in more than I am loved. I am to be loved the less. For if I love you more, for if I love you the more, am I to be loved the less? Be that as may. Okay.
Yeah, probably
Let me
just
read it again.
rhetorical question. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a rhetorical question.
Yeah. Be that as may, I did not burden you myself. Nevertheless, crafty fellow that I am, I took you in my deceit. Certainly, I have not taken advantage of you through any of those whom I have sent you. Have I? I urged Titus to go and sent the brother with him. Titus did not take advantage of you, did he? He will not conduct. Did we not conduct ourselves in the same spirit and walk in the same steps?
Yeah, they did. They did.
Yes,
At least from what we were told.
All the rhetorical stuff, all the sarcasm coming forward, this godly sarcasm. All this time, you have been thinking that we are defending ourselves to you. Actually, it is the sight of God we have been speaking in Christ, all that you uphold being beloved.
So there is some textual commentary here. So have you been thinking all along that we have been defending ourselves to you? It is in the sight of God that we have been speaking in Christ, and all your upbuilding beloved. So the Textus Receptus, in agreement with the manuscripts listed in the critical apparatus of UBS, reads the easier palin again instead of palai, so for a long time or all along. So they so usually it says palen or palin. The more difficult reading palai is strongly supported by external evidence. It is not clear what time period Paul refers to with the word polai. Barrett suggests that the sense is, quote, throughout the reading of this letter, since Paul's letters were meant to be read aloud to the recipients of the letter.
Yep.
No, that's the textual commentary there, but they're very confident. Yeah.
These last three verses are a paragraph. So I'll read the set starting again from verse 19. All this time you have been thinking that we are defending ourselves to you. Actually, it is a sight of God that we have been speaking in Christ, that and all you upbuilding beloved. For I am afraid that perhaps we might find that you are not as what I wish. We may be found to you, not by what you wish, but perhaps there may be strife, jealousy, angry tempers, disputes, slanders, gossip, arrogance, disturbances. I am afraid that when I come again, my God may humiliate me before you, and I might mourn many of these who have sinned in the past and have not repented in the impurity, immorality, sensitivity for which they have practiced.
Yeah, so essentially he doesn't, he's dreading the day that they may fall astray.
Yes.
Unintended rhyme.
Yes.
Yeah, that is chapter 12, and we have one more chapter to go. Hey, if you're enjoying the stream so far, make sure you drop a like, subscribe. Make sure you guys are, commenting in chat. That's appreciated. Or leave a comment if you're watching this later. Tell us how good you're feeling, and also make sure you click that notification bell, because if you don't, the planet will actually turn inside out. It's going to be like one of those disgusting scenes in those horror movies where everything turns inside out and all the blood and guts are on the outside. It's going to be really gross. So you don't want to see that. And the fact that we have...
I kind of want to see it.
While you're on the planet?
Yeah.
No.
Who else? Yeah, who's going to tell me what that's like?
Nobody. But I don't think it sounds great. Anyways, if you want to keep the planet not inside out, make sure you click the notification bell.
What a planet turning...
Look at the text that's on the screen right now. It says like, share, sub, $. See how warped it is? Like, that's just a foretaste of what might happen if you are slack in your consideration. You don't have to. The consideration of clicking that like bill. And the scribe bill, the scribe noticing down there, it's free.
Yeah, that's true.
Free.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And you know what else is free? Our reading.
Yeah.
just like Paul's preaching is free of charge.
Yeah, so is ours.
Yep, so is ours.
Yep.
Yeah, so I guess this last thing is Paul going to try to climb down from his high horse, which he claims to be a low horse, and therefore it's a high horse.
Yeah, we got some final warnings.
And apparently it sounds like Palpatine wrote it.
Oh shit! All right.
This is the third time
Paul.
I am coming to you.
Yeah.
Do it. Just do it.
Do it.
Do it. No. In the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses shall every word be established. I told you before and foretell you, as if I were present the second time, and being absent now, I write to them which heretofore have sinned, and to all other that if I come again, I will not spare, since ye seek a proof of Christ speaking in me, which to you word is not weak, but is mighty in you. For though he was crucified through weakness, yet he liveth by the power of God. For we also are weak in him, but we shall live with him by the power of God toward you. Examine yourselves, whether ye be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves how that Jesus Christ is in you, except ye be reprobates? But I trust that ye shall know that we are not reprobates. Now, I pray to God that ye do no evil. Not that we should appear approved, but ye should do that which is honest, though we be as reprobates. For we can do nothing against the truth, but for the truth. For we are glad when we are weak, and ye are strong. And this also we wish, even your perfection. Therefore, I write these things, being absent, lest being present I should use sharpness, according to the power which the Lord hath given me to edification, and not to destruction. Finally, brethren, farewell. Be perfect, be of good comfort, be of one mind, live in peace, and the God of love and peace shall be with you. Greet one another with a holy kiss. All the saints salute you. The grace of the Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the communion of the Holy Ghost be with you all. Amen. That is the end of 2 Corinthians.
Hot dog.
There's not really much to say about that.
Yeah, it was pretty straightforward. I want to thank everyone for joining today.
Yes.
And yes, see, Wim knows a holy kiss. That is how people should greet each other, obviously.
Yeah, and you know what? We have 54 pages left of the KJV.
Oh, wow.
Here.
Wow.
We are getting dangerously close to finishing the Bible.
Yes. If you
Chris,
Get rid of the
moderate.
bot. Someone. Wait, hold on. Maybe we should let April do it. I don't know.
April, moderate.
Yeah.
Get rid of the hot girls.
They're for me. Look, heart and pal. I don't know what pal means, but I'll figure it out.
And it has fun in the name, so
It doesn't matter. We just we just get rid of
I'm
it.
gonna make it a moderator.
Do not make it a moderator.
Yeah. Okay.
So you just hide the user from this channel. That would
yeah,
I
click
can't
hide,
see it. Oh,
hide user on this channel.
click hide. Oh my god,
Just won't do it.
this will
It can still.
it'll
post.
get rid of the comments, but now it's not blocked.
Yeah, you didn't block it. No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't block the channel.
Well, it's gone forever.
Oh my god. Okay, so yeah, I think the only way to actually see it is if you're on the live chat, because there's live chat and top chat, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have it
It
on
is-
live chat.
It has been reported
Yes, it has been reported.
for
Yeah.
the material, so it's even naughtier condemnation.
Anyways, 2
weird.
Corinthians. Final thoughts.
It was a book. Finding some letters.
I think in terms of entertainment, it was better, I guess.
Better than 1 Corinthians.
Yeah.
How about Corinthians as a whole? What do you think of Paul's advice to the churches in Corinth?
I mean, it seems like his whole issue for the churches in Corinth.
First, it was circumcision.
right.
And then we go into like sexual sin and idolatry.
And people arguing against each other.
Apostasy.
Yeah, right. Apostasy. And then we finally got into a whole group of people that are against him, and now he's like, "All right, I'll show you."
I'm coming up there to set things straight.
Yeah, right. That's
Yeah.
essentially what happened. So, in terms of entertainment, I think it was this one was better.
Yeah, it was a bit like reading through like a really shitty internet forum of people.
Yeah, kind of. It was kind of like that.
You know, Paul's thoughts are not super concentrated. He tends to have weird asides.
He does, yeah. And some of his rhetorical strategies, I would argue, are not really that great.
He says in 10 words what he could say in 2.
Yeah, that's true. Either way, that is the reading. And let's see what next week we're going over Galatians.
Yep, we're getting into Galatians. I wonder if Paul's advice to the Galatians will be any different than his
We'll
advice
see. We'll
to the
see. There is
Corinthians.
some weird stuff about Galatians that I would definitely like to talk about. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think again, this is sort of showing Paul in Paul's behavior that's somehow been considered canonized, as opposed to having essentially issues, schisms in the church, or dealing with that sort of thing, and feeling personally affronted and having to defend himself through various rhetorical means, but doing it behind their backs from afar, like it's a Twitter war as opposed to face to face.
Yeah. All right. Hey.
Was Paul? That's a good question. Was Paul a likable person?
No.
What do you think?
I don't think so.
No.
I didn't like him.
I wouldn't spend any time around Paul if I could help it.
Hey, is there a crowd that's running after Paul again? I'm going to join that crowd with my pitchfork and torch.
But another question was: is the character on the green screen behind you, Paul?
Yeah, it was supposed to be.
Is this Paul?
Yeah, look at that. Look at that
That's
face.
Paul.
Look at that face.
He's got a headache.
Yeah.
Well, hey, if you enjoyed the stream today, check us out on Patreon. Landon's a patron. That's how he's on the show.
Yeah.
You could also be on the show. You could be in our patron hangouts. In fact, if you sign up right now,
Literally right now, if you sign up literally right now.
at this second at the appropriate tier, you can get in our patron hangout today.
Yeah, because we're doing one.
What
Yeah.
is the tier? Is it?
I think it's the $20 tier at least. Yeah. That was the $20 one. You get all the benefits from beforehand as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because after the show, there's a private after show where we discuss all kinds of things, life, the universe, and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah, if you ever so fancied seeing me, you can.
For example, right now, much to our surprise, the Kilauea volcano is erupting again. In fact, it's ironic because I did a show on Debate Hub about the fact that both Kilauea and Mauna Loa eruption stopped in that whole process. And we said it would be surprising if it said, and not only a few hours after we did the show, Kilauea started gushing out, and it's doing a spectacular
Well, shit.
set of volcanoes. So yeah, but if you were at the patron level on $20 or more, you might be able to see some of those images.
Yeah, and I mean, we also have an Amazon wish list.
We do.
Full books.
Yeah.
And
I will be adding more, by the way.
you know, one of the other things is the T-shirt giveaway that we did at the beginning of the show. Well, you know, you could be in that, or you could click the pinned product if it works.
Yeah, let's hope it works. Sometimes it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Oh my god. Okay, you know what? The page is there.
Susan!
Yeah, right. The page is there. You can just go and click our Teespring link. It's all there. That's working.
In the description.
Yeah. It's all
And
in
we
the
also have
description.
Facebook and Twitter. Landon, do you want to plug anything that you're working on?
Well, I'm working on our favorite universe. There's a Discord channel that we've been building up, and it has all kinds of stuff about science. It's got some history, disaster news, food, politics, sort of thing. There's a whole bunch of things I've been doing with Dapper Dino, where I'm subjected to some videos that are let's just call them special. And we play a drinking game where every time something stupid is done, and it takes us like 2 hours to go through 10 minutes, kind of like this show, but for crazy bits and stuff. So we've been doing that. There's coming up coming up this next month, for example, on the I need to get to the correct month. On the 3rd, at 13 Pacific, that's 1 p.m. Pacific time, there'll be a volcano show where you'll hear us eat crow that we thought Kilauea was going to erupting, and we'll show some lava stuff. Now, who knows whether Kilauea will be still erupting by that time? But that's a thing coming up. And again, that's on Chesh's channel. On their show called Debate Hub, but you look for Chesh, CHESH, on there. On the 11th of February, there's a current events where we will be covering stuff. Like last time, we covered things wacky things going on in Canada. We talked about Scottish independence, a bunch of other things like that. This next and a little bit of the House of Representatives. We'll certainly have new craziness coming forward. So that's another thing coming up on the 11th. Also, it turns out I will be, if you were in Canada, at a particular church that is known for its young Earth creationism, I will be teaching a class to physics students about relativity. I will show them space-time curvature and the improved understanding about gravity is not Newton's magical force instantly at a distance, but space-time curvature. But actually, the main thing I'm going to be doing in that class is getting the students to ask questions. Because science is about asking questions that are potentially, they're scientific questions are falsifiable. And if I can get the students to ask questions, in fact, part of the thing that the teachers agreed to is that their grade for that class I'm going to do on relativity will be based upon the questions they ask.
So is this, you said this was specifically for young Earth creationists?
Well, it's a religious school or a church that's well known for its sort of young Earth creationism stuff. It has lots of people involved in that sort of thing, and they know it's there. I mean, last time I did a talk, and I was presenting them. Actually, showed them a meteorite had material that was could be almost twice as old as the Earth. That presented some chronology problems with it. But that's this. I was asking questions. So this coming up next week, I'm going up to Canada and doing this class on relativity.
Any chance you could record this?
Yeah, right.
It depends on whether they permit or not. One of the last times that the difficulty was the question about getting permission to record the thing, given that there's young students involved. 11th, 12th grade, but there's a little bit of permission has to be done, but I'm going to inquire about that again. It's going to be based upon a tactic that Feynman used in teaching me relativity, except I'm not going to force them to go through the general relativity equations because that's difficult.
Yeah. All right, that sounds awesome. Well, if you are able to record that, I would love to. I think we'd all love to see it.
Yeah, but I'm sure that our audience would love to see it too.
Yeah.
And our audience would also love to see our future videos. So we've told you how to support us.
And in the comments, what should they say? It's probably something about maybe super apostles.
In the comments, say something about super apostles.
Super apostles.
Your favorite super apostle.
Yeah, if you were a super apostle, what would your super apostle name be?
What would your super apostle powers be as well?
Yeah, name your super apostle powers.
Yeah.
In the comments, my super apostle powers are whatever.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Love it.
You're talking about comments on the video, not in the chat.
Yes, exactly. So if you made it to the end of the video,
the holy kiss
Give
power.
yourself a pack out on the
power of holy kiss. There you go.
All right. That's the end. Facebook and Twitter. Free Son Lawrence diss tracks into MilwaukeeAtheists@gmail.com, and we will
See you on Friday. We still got to decide what we're doing on Friday.